Linguistic knowledge and awareness of linguistic diversity in classrooms is the topic of this module. First of all, you could use Mentimeter, which is an interaction software in any face-to-face or online teaching or training sessions. An indicative question could be, how would you define linguistic diversity? The presence of many diversified immigrant communities who settle in Europe and import the linguistic and cultural diversity considerably affects the linguistic situation of the host societies. Globalized expansion of information, cultural exchange, and high-speed communication affect constant change of language dynamics in form and structure. Immigrant flows are the crucial factor of plurilingualism to the already variegated linguistic reality. But how can we define linguistic diversity in classrooms? Constant changes in language boundaries and migration patterns affect the language diversity of the school-aged population, concluding with most children today speaking different languages at home than the standard language taught at school. This fact brings language educators and policy makers increasing challenges, and they need to seek new approaches and patterns in the language teaching area. For example, in Greek schools today, we have students from minorities, for example, Turkish-speaking students in Thrace, refugee students from Syria, Afghanistan, and immigrant students, for example, from Albania, Russia, Armenia, and so on. You could use here the tool of poll in order to ask the attendees what languages their bilingual students speak. 4 educators have shared their experiences from their multilingual classes. As you can see here, their teaching experience varies, but they all have experience with children or adults, migrants and refugees, in formal and non-formal education. So, how do they define linguistic diversity?
Well, the way I see it, linguistic diversity is more than a mix of different languages. It is a variety of different cultures, different identities, I'd say different stories or different values. For me, it's a privilege to teach in classrooms with linguistic diversity. It is a wealth. It is an opportunity to hear other languages, to see different people with different habits, to share their knowledge, the knowledge that they bring along with them. For me, it's like traveling. It sounds poetic, but for me, it's like traveling while we're not moving, while we're in a class. And I love traveling, so I find it beneficial in general.
My classrooms are really multilingual. Not only because I have students from with different origins attending together the lessons in the same classroom, but also because students themselves use and communicate in different languages to help each other, to communicate with me. In other words, students, for example, from Kurdistan who speak and comprehend Arabic, also use both languages, Kurdish and Arabic, and operate often as interpreters for their classmates. And also in the classroom, we use Greek, English, the students' mother tongues, pantomime, drawings, anything in order to communicate. This is linguistic diversity for me. To use all our linguistic
resources, perhaps?
Resources, yes, resources, exactly, in order to communicate and enjoy the process of the lesson. The result is always very, very creative.
I would say that there are two strong elements, the country of origin and the language, and then the level of literacy, because this is very important. The challenging in my classes was not the different languages or the dialects, but mostly the level of literacy. I had students of zero literacy to students with basic literacy, because most of them experienced the war and were obliged to abstain from schooling, the children and the women, because I also had classes of women who were illiterate, most of them, or basic.
So for me as a teacher, linguistic diversity embodies certain values of language, of identity, speaker's identity, and culture. It is mainly for me an enabling condition for my students and for me as a teacher in order to define, express, and accept their sociocultural and sociolinguistic identity. I think it sets its communication goals in order to assist students to integrate into this new community, the host community, and into this new reality they face. Also, it is a very good option to work with linguistic diversity as a tool in order to help students to celebrate heterogeneity into the classroom and participate as a group.
How do L2 educators manage linguistic diversity in their classrooms?
Well, first of all, I try to create a sense, an environment, a plurilingual environment, where of course we teach the language of the state and the language of the main
yes, of the host country.
Yes, of the host country, but at the same time I try to create an environment where all languages feel equal and welcome to be expressed, and I think this is very important. But yeah, in terms of pedagogical strategies, I encourage a lot of students to use resources from their cultures to present material from their countries, or even in a more natural way. We very often listen to songs in their languages, or there is always space to share videos, stories, poems, or anything else they want.
It's a very interesting process for me as well, because I learn many of their languages, and it helps a lot. I have seen that it helps a lot to compare the grammar of Greek language to their language, to their native languages, in order to comprehend better the basics of the language, the use of the language.
I took advantage of this. I tried to make one step at a time, and actually I used the students that had a basic level of literacy, or they could at least understand some words in English or in Greek, to help me. So practically, those people, they helped me. Then I tried to use this situation to make an intercultural team and show them that we are all the same, we have the same problem, we cannot understand each other. So I was also in a difficult position, and I tried to make a team and help them feel at home.
It's a very interesting process for me as well, because I learned
collaborate with them, even though I didn't know their first languages. So linguistic diversity gave me an opportunity to communicate with them, let's say in their first languages, as well as in Greek. And also we had English as a helpful tool also to communicate and collaborate with each other.
In order to manage linguistic diversity in classrooms, there is an urgent need for alternative teaching methods. For example, gamification is an interactive teaching method, promotes learner-centeredness and a playful atmosphere, where students use their languages in a more natural and spontaneous way.
So here is a game I made it actually from scratch. It's based on game mechanics of other games, of course. But here we can see Greek personalities from science or literature or
Politics.
politics, yeah, or music. As you can see, it's for A1, A2. The objectives are the physical features and appearance, professions, sentences in present simple or past simple, the colors, adjectives, and then in communicative context to identify the main idea in a short, simple messages, oral speech only. The material is mainly these cards that you can see. Of course, I have a video that when they answer the correct answer, they watch a video from the politician, the artist, etc. And yeah, it's like an introductory game because I find it, and they learn many things while they also learn some of the culture. They come in touch with the culture of, I don't know, some.
So yes, they are in accordance with A1, with A2 when they have to learn how to describe.
Yes, exactly. They first learn how to describe, then they read some short sentences that are related to the personalities, and they need to guess which personality is. And then if the answer is correct, we watch the video and they take points. So it's a whole.
And at the same time, they get acquainted with some of the popular, the great personalities of Greece. Very nice.
Exactly. Then for A2, it's it's a monopoly, but it's adapted to the city of Thessaloniki. It's for A2. It has all the streets of the city and many, I don't know, companies or public services. Then for in the cards of order and decision, I adapt it and I present the language phenomenon that I want to teach accordingly.
For example, I can see imperative, that is it is a basic thing they have to learn in A2 level.
Exactly. Imperative is the main phenomenon, but then sometimes I've used it for simple present or simple future or subjunctive. And yeah, then at the same time, of course, by counting their steps or the money, they get used, they learn the numbers, the acronyms with the services that it's sometimes difficult for them to learn, fixed phrases in our everyday speech, cities' cultural elements or points of interest. And yeah, then it's played as the typical Monopoly.
Very interesting.
Then there is this board game which is called Kaleidos, and actually I haven't touched it. There is no language or text, so you can play it in every language. So Kaleidos is for level B1 or B2. As you can see, there are big cards with a lot of objects, and we say one letter, and then they try to find as many words as possible that start from this letter, that they are in Greek, of course, and that we can see in the pictures. This is for vocabulary. And sometimes we've used it with the teachers also for spelling. We can also practice the spelling and correct how they write the words.
And also we can see, I think, because we have implemented in some of the courses of the School of Modern Greek, that some words are in common in Greek and in other languages, so we can find commonalities.
Exactly. It's very, it's very interesting, the words that students come up, and sometimes they see it but they believe maybe they use a word that it's in their language and they use a Greek ending that they believe that somehow this can be Greek. Or yes, sometimes words are in common.
Yes. Exactly, yeah.
And then, yeah, this is another game. It's for B1, B2, C1. It's based on the cards from the game Dixit, but I've been using it in a completely different way. It's mainly for creative writing, I'd say. So the objectives here are mainly past tenses, or linking words, or linking phrases, adjectives, fixed phrases that we use to create stories, narrative speech, and metaphorical use of language. And then we can adapt it, like as I wrote for the extensions, like to practice present simple or future simple or subjunctive, passive voice, depends. Many times I come in the class with this game, and depends on in which chapter the class is, the students are, we use it to, and you can use it a lot for everything. I mean, and once the students learn how to play it, then they become more and more familiar, and
they can also find new ways of exploiting this game. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if I have, oh yeah, I have one more. This is only oral speech. This is a game that is based mainly on debate. So it's for levels B2 or C1. Objectives is using argumentation, production of short continuous speech with coherence, and yes, debate. There are like the bad characters and the good characters. No one knows who the other person is, and they try to guess who the bad werewolves are. So by talking, and only by talking and debating, they try to understand, they vote who is the bad person, the werewolf, and they open their cards, and there is a lot of suspense and fight sometimes. But yeah, I find it very nice because they just speak for 1 hour and a half or so, and I think it's not so easy many times in the class to have only the students speak on their own. So here is a game
Another alternative teaching method is linguistic landscape. So school linguistic landscape allows for comparison between languages in order to raise metalinguistic awareness and language use and promote students' empowerment. Moreover, incentives and encouragement of L1 use in class has a result students to feel accepted. Translanguaging facilitates language learning, and students who are advanced in Greek often act as interpreters. Moreover, activities based on translanguaging is an investment in every educator's agenda and also in students' portfolio.
So we did the specific task because it was upon the research that I was doing for my master thesis. And these are specific examples that I gathered for this presentation. We used Greek and English in the context of word or a phrase. Many students of them, they used very specific words in English or in their first languages as well. They combined these two features in order to define something from the oral or written speech, to communicate a message, let's say. And also, in the other slides, they used, when we communicated and we did something for the Ramadan period, let's say, and in the cooking classes that we did, to explore cuisine from all over the world, they use Greek and English in the context of a sentence. This was basically oral and some of them written from my illiterate students, that they felt more secure to use this into a whole sentence to communicate also a message. And also they used their first languages to communicate with their students, and they combine common language features with the Greek language. And some of my students, they define their, let's say, it's the same examples from the tasks from the cuisine from all over the world. Students, they discuss with each other, they had dialogues, and most of them, they came from different backgrounds, let's say Afghanistan and Syria, but they found a very good communication, let's say, I found them in a very good communication level, as they use specific vocabulary, and they combine the common language feature into their first languages and the Greek language.
So they had common words, eh?
Yes, they found very, their languages seemed to them very different, also to me, but they found common words to communicate with each other, and they deliver a message as a group, because they were doing at that moment a group activity.
Very interesting, Evita. Thank you very much for. Are there some any other examples?
Yes. If you want 2 or 3 more slides that I have with translanguage features.
Yes, of course.
So I found that there were a lot of translanguaging features when they were writing also some texts with street food all over the world, or where they were writing a letter or a recipe. And also as a team, we did that activity. They made a word wall about the environment, or a poster about the environment. And there were a lot of translanguaging features when they were creating these tasks, these activities.